And it's now time for SME on Point. So as the SABC marks 1 year of the lockdown in South Africa, we reflect on how this time has been to the small business sector. Exactly a year ago, we at the SME on Point featured Vuyo, a founder of the fashion boutique Tintfo le Tinhle. And from that day, Vuyo was stuck with rails of designer wear. Foot traffic to the store decreased significantly. Her business hosted other designs whose businesses also suffered the same blow. She had to be creative, coming up with strategies to keep stock moving. This included selling 3 items for 1,000 rands and coming up with a loungewear range, and also taking her business online. Many adjustments had to be made to accommodate the changes that came with this invisible enemy, COVID-19. Vuyo joins us now a year on SME on Point to get an update of how her business has fared throughout this past 12 months. Vuyo joins us via Zoom. Yes, the Zoom platform it is. Vuyo, thank you so much for joining us once again on SME on Point. What a year it has been. I actually remember how anxious you were on this day last year. How have you been on a personal level, first of all?
It's been a very challenging year because I think what this pandemic has done, not only has it impacted businesses, but it has impacted people on a personal level. And I have not been left, unscathed by the personal impacts of COVID-19. But fortunately, and I thank God that, I haven't lost any close family members. So I'm grateful for that. And yeah, it gives me encouragement to carry on and fight.
Yeah. So business must have changed a lot throughout this time. But how has it been since we last spoke? What changes have you seen?
So if you recall, the last time we met, I was very optimistic. I just moved into this beautiful space in Hyde Park. I just done it up. We had chandeliers, nice music in the background. I was really, optimistic and wanting to create a beautiful shopping experience for customers. But unfortunately, I found myself on the other side of the border. As soon as the president announced a lockdown, I thought, it's going to be 21 days. Let me just go to Swaziland and spend that 21 days there because we wanted to adhere to the lockdown, regulations. Little did I know that I'll be stuck in Swaziland for 3 months. And by the time I came back, I was repatriated. I went through the 14-day quarantine process. By the time I was back, I really didn't have any business to go back to. And I was forced to close my shop at the end of September.
Sure. And how many people were affected by this unfortunate decision?
So I had about 5 employees on a full-time basis, and some of them were able to work from home, but some I had to say goodbye to them and literally give them packages and machines and equipment for them to be able to start their own businesses.
Yeah. There were a lot of measures that came from government who were trying to help with debt relief schemes, funding schemes. You were also one of those people that applied for these schemes. Were you successful, and how did that help, if it did at all?
So I did take advantage of the schemes that were available in the sense that I applied. I was pre-qualified as a preferred supplier of cloth masks. So most of our people in the same industry as me had to turn our businesses and do less dresses, make less fashion, and do more PPE and masks. So although I qualified, but I couldn't take full advantage of those opportunities because I was not in the country then.
Let's talk about the new business that you have since ventured. Being an entrepreneur that you are, you didn't stop there, even though you've had to close your doors. I think it was in September you told me that you had to close your doors. What have you since ventured into, and how's that going?
It's been a matter of survival, really. I had to dig into my other arsenal of skills. I've dabbled into interior design because, fashion and interior design go hand in hand. There are a lot of customers who've been to the store who loved how I've set it up, and they've invited me to decorate their homes. So that has kept me, afloat. And I've also had to dig into my journalism background So I've been doing a bit of writing and a bit of publishing work. But now, my post-COVID recovery strategy is really going back to, the textiles and fashion industry. And I'm doing that by starting small. You visited me in my factory the other day. So I don't now have a fancy store in Hyde Park. I'm renting a factory downtown Johannesburg where I don't make fancy dresses. I make masks, I make shopping bags, I make PPE, I make uniforms. So it's really, what COVID has done, it has asked me, as an entrepreneur, is what I'm providing exactly what people want. So I had to adjust and give people what they want and really, be flexible with my offering.
Yeah. The issue of agility is one that a lot of entrepreneurs have had to learn during this time. What other lessons has this year taught you about yourself as an entrepreneur and how you conduct your business?
It has really taught me the importance of relationships. I had clients, I would even, it makes me want to cry. I had clients who would say, Vuyo, I don't really need a dress right now, but I know that it's tough times, I'll buy a dress. So those relationships that I've invested in have really, buoyed me up and really encouraged me to stay in business. And running a business is not a one-man thing. You have to have a community around you, and I'm immensely grateful to those clients, relatives, and friends who have really supported me during this time.
Vuyo, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. We do wish you the best as you enter yet another year of lockdown, albeit at different levels. But thank you for sharing your journey with SME OnPoint. And we do hope that the customers that you used to serve will once again come back and ask you to do more work for them. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So this week, our featured business of the week is Deaftouch, an app that provides solutions to the deaf community. Its founder, Claybourne Appies, is determined to ensure that the deaf community is involved in the ever-changing world that's technology-driven. Mangoba Nkosi edited the following insert.
May I start by firstly introducing myself in the way I know best, which is, so in simple terms, I'm Claybourne. I'm the CEO of Deaftouch. And that would be my easiest and simplest introduction.
Claybourne Appies spent 16 years of his working life in the insurance industry. It was here where he was confronted by the challenges that the deaf community live with, having a language but no platform.
I had to answer a phone call from a parent needing to take out insurance for a deaf child. Unfortunately, we were not apt and equipped at the time to do so in an effective manner that would ensure that that transaction happens seamlessly. That transaction, in fact, took almost 5 days to complete.
What is the average time?
Average time is about 3 minutes. And fast forward even a few years further from that, from one of the insurance companies that I actually worked for, we had a deaf customer stuck along the road on the weekend for almost 4 hours.
This occurrence forced Appies to seek a solution that made communication seamless for deaf people and to also bring them into the mainstream economy.
What the app would do essentially is, as a deaf person, you would go to your app store, either on your iPhone or your Android phone, download the Deaftouch app, create a profile for yourself. And once you've created your profile, you as the deaf person are ready to use our interactive video-based dialing system. On the other end, because we are a B2B and a B2G, they would have our system installed on their service. Now, our software installs into existing IVRs, which simply turns your existing IVR into a digital call center. Once the deaf person with their smartphone then dials into, let's call it 10111, our video-enabled software allows 10111 to employ a deaf person. Now, the reason we've gone this route is that the deaf community have a 75% unemployment rate, which is really high. And Deaftouch is seeking to ensure that they reach services, but they also improve their standard of living. So now governments as well as private organizations can employ a deaf person that speaks sign language to answer a call from a deaf person, and that interaction would happen in real-time video in sign language.
According to the World Health Organization, 5% of the population is deaf or have a hearing impairment. In South Africa, there are 3 million deaf people, and 50% of them don't have access to services and are digitally excluded. Appies says Deaftouch wants to ensure that the deaf community is not left behind in the fourth industrial revolution.
When COVID kicked off, South Africa, launched this amazing call center that all of us were able to call in and get information about, COVID and the lockdown and, all the necessary help and aid that is out there. But a deaf person could not call that call center. Had they had our app operating in that call center, everyone could have been part of that conversation. Our app basically enables video relay services, video remote assistance, deaf-to-deaf call center, speech-to-text services. So it's got an array of products in its suite specifically focused on digitalizing the communication that needs to happen between a deaf end user or a blind end user to such businesses.
Although not deaf himself, Appies says he has had to look around for the solution to make life easier for others, and that having a purpose remains important in the entrepreneurial journey.
Any and everything. And my purpose is to ensure that we create a more inclusive world. Purpose is what drives you, because this journey is tough, Liabo. Let me say that to you. It's a very difficult journey, and sometimes it becomes a very lonely journey. And the only thing that really drives you to get up in the morning and to continue this journey is purpose. So find your purpose, seek your purpose.
Liabo Setho, SABC News, Johannesburg. Thank you so much to Claybourne Appies for sharing his journey with SME OnPoint. Remember, we are on Facebook. Our Facebook page is @SME OnPoint. Even in the midst of a pandemic, security still remains of utmost importance. Another small business, Trexscan, has developed an app that performs facial recognition for time and attendance in the workforce management. Trexscan is now offering this software service free to primary schools for all of 2021. Let's find out how your primary school, if you are in the education system, can benefit from this. We're speaking to the director of Trexscan, Khashane Motlousi. Khashane, thank you so much for joining us on SME OnPoint. It's been a tumultuous year, and on SABC today we are reflecting on how small businesses have fared during this 1 year of lockdown. What has been your experience firstly?
Diabo, thank you for having me on your show. I must say I appreciate the opportunity to share our experience as a small business with South Africans and any other Africans that may be watching at this point in time. So being a small business that's been operating for roughly 3 years now, we've had to build our business in a way that is nimble as well as agile in order to obviously obtain optimal results over the 3 years of our existence. And one of the things that has been at the core of our business is efficiency, especially from a cost point of view. But given the disruption that was COVID and lockdown, especially the initial hard lockdown, we did take a knock, primarily because our solution at the time, most of our clients were using a fingerprint-based solution, such as the one I'm showing now. And the minute large institutions, such as the universities, for example, started decommissioning their fingerprint systems, a lot of our clients did go into a somewhat panic mode and obviously opted to follow suit. And what had helped us at the time, however, is that since about September 2019, we had started working on a facial recognition app for time and attendance. This was just in line with our future-proofing initiatives, where we had seen that a future trajectory for our business would involve our clients being able to do time and attendance on Android devices, more so using facial recognition, given that Android devices do come with cameras as a standard, versus a fingerprint reader, which would not necessarily be available on most Android devices. So we did take a dip, but we were able to swiftly recover within a matter of 2 to 3 months, given that as soon as clients decided to decommission or halt their use of fingerprint, we were able to transition most to using facial recognition as an alternative form of time and attendance. So that really helped us remain future-proof or COVID-proof, if I could put it that way. And yes, some of our clients obviously financially did take a knock, which meant that invariably we would take a knock too, given that if they are not able to collect in terms of revenue on their side, that would affect payments with us as well. So we had to weather the storm like everyone else and just double down on those things that matter to us as a business. And as a result of that, we've managed to stay alive. And by the grace of God, we are seeing growth again now. So from about November last year, the sentiment has just been that we want the economy to pick up. And we are seeing the results of not just our own actions, but the actions of others who just want to see our country and our economy do better.
To flourish.
So, yes, to flourish. Yes, so it's been tough, but it has not been possible.
It has not. Let's talk about the Trexscan, the offer that you have that is free for primary schools. What are you trying to achieve with that? And what sort of primary schools, or in which area do these certain, are you prioritizing the primary schools?
All right. So in terms of primary schools, we understand that primary school children are very critical stakeholders to us, both current and future stakeholders. Looking at a lot of the people that are using our technology today, we realize that it's within our best interest to start investing in future users of our software, our technology. And primary school children are ideal. And we're targeting essentially all South African primary schools, from government schools to private schools. And the idea is that we will bring in a higher degree of security, higher degree of consistency as well, and better reporting in terms of attendance from a learner point of view. Now, at the core of the exercise, obviously, will be the teachers, because it's an Android-driven system. And the idea is to empower teachers to be able to clock students in using our facial recognition app, at least at the beginning of the first period each day. Now, once obviously the schools get better at using the technology, it would also be ideal to also get a clock out at the end of the day. Now, the reason why we would want both a clock in and a clock out is that we could arrive at a point where even the parents now start getting information that verifies that their children are actually at school.
Yeah,
are in class. They're at school at the beginning of school, and at least that they were at school at the end of school. So in instances where children do go missing for whatever reason, we at least would have given an opportunity for both the teachers and parents to be able to keep track of their kids.
Khashane, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I know that your website is www.trexscan.co.za. This is where those in the education sector, if you're a primary school principal or along those lines, you can get hold of them on that website and get some more information, and hopefully it will come in handy at your school too. But Khashane, thank you so much for joining us on SME OnPoint. We really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure, Liabo. Thanks for the opportunity again.
Thank you. Well, that's all from SME OnPoint for this week. It was quite a packed show this time around, but yes, we are looking back and at a year since we announced a lockdown, or a lockdown was announced a year ago. And throughout the day, my colleagues will be giving you stories that are related to what has been happening throughout the year. But from me, that is all from SME OnPoint. Remember to support your small businesses to keep the rand and cents circulating in your community. Nompumelelo Siziba is coming up at the top of the hour.